Welcome aboard. My name is Brandy Sieber, and today I'm going to present to you a conversation that I had with Ra Cloud. Ra Cloud is a seventh dimensional light being that is incarnated on this planet in order to assist with the dimensional shift that is happening on this planet. Our Earth is raising in frequency. As she raises her frequency, so too do the humans and all the creatures on the planet. We're all just raising our frequency. There are many souls that have incarnated for this experience. We're here for it, and Ra is absolutely one of them. He has a YouTube channel where he shares his intel, his insight, and inspiration as a healed human of his experience within the many dimensions. This may be new information for some. For some, this is very, very familiar. We understand clearly what is happening, and there are thousands of souls that came in for this experience. I'm one of them, and Ra is absolutely one of them. I find his content fascinating, uplifting. I find him to be so brave and, again, consistent. I really respect what he's doing. I'd like for you to experience what he sees, how he sees it, and his perspective. He is an absolutely beautiful, positive, radiant soul. Please enjoy this conversation. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Good things ahead. Take good care.
Both sides, which God created duality within this matrix system. So like I said, we made a conscious decision to incarnate so that we don't interfere in galactic agreements. The best way to come down here and to monitor all of the darkness that was enveloped in Earth was to get around this particular matrix system and experience and then wake up. And as we wake up, we begin to understand that the mission here is to enlighten people that are pretty much stuck in this particular construct, this matrix system, where they are living and breathing, but have lost their way. So is there anything else you want to?
No, and so you were from the seventh density, made the choice to come in and interact and assist with the ascension, if you will. Is that correct?
Yes, the ascension was just one process that it's a natural process, but it was being held up by certain beings that wanted to control how the ascension timelines was going to be handled. For the longest time, these timelines were so important, but they were not moving in a way that it was natural, that Source God had created. So there was a lot of people that were stuck in this slave mentality where they were just not growing. So it was being controlled a long time ago. We're talking about millions upon millions of incarnation, cycles here on Earth.
And so the ascension process, it being a natural biological process, you're saying that there were other ET species that were interacting with the Earth from millions of years ago that somehow changed, shifted, and kind of put some type of, they were trying to change the process in order to enslave the species that were here?
Yes. Well, what they did was they too had a natural process of going out and creating life as well. I mean, this is something that all species do once they reach a certain level of understanding and they work through Source. Well, these particular beings stepped away from God creation, where you use love to create. and you watch that creation through love. Well, these particular beings stepped away and started feeding off of the inhabitants of different ET races. They needed I don't know if I could say this. I don't know if you may get flagged on YouTube, so I have to watch what I say.
It's okay.
Do you want me to say it goes into the adrenal? It goes into the adrenal.
Oh, maybe if we could code that word, but
yes.
If you can give us the information without in some type of coded way, I would love that.
Okay, well, feeding off of the soul. Yeah, so they inverted their own matrix system. Now, these are highly evolved beings with they are really advanced beings, and they understand how creation transpired. So they created a inverted system, and this inverted system is what we call a black hole. Anything that is overlaid with a natural God source creation, it has a particular timeline to evolve. So we incarnate into all types of sentient life. Well, that life comes with growth and learning and harsh experience. Well, these beings understand how our souls are like batteries. So they started creating what we call black holes, and they invert their own matrix system, overland God's source creation process. And all it does, it just runs backwards. Everything that is moving forward, they invert it and run it backwards so that they're not, the process is not moving at all. And through that, you age. For the longest time, when we first incarnated, we incarnated in what we consider perfect bodies. These particular bodies didn't age. We ran off of what we consider organic matrix system, where we didn't need to ingest food. We absorbed from the sun. This is how God intended. So these beings started feeding off of organic life itself. They moved away completely from source creation, feeding off of the sun, getting their nutrition from God, Son, and wanted to become God themselves.
Do you think that these species, do you know exactly where they came from within the galaxy, or from source itself, from like that point of creation itself? Did those inversions start developing, or do you think that they started developing once source kind of created into other star systems? For instance, and I don't want we don't necessarily have to say a specific star system, because I believe that there is an ism, if you will, like that ismness kind of like carries into our little muggle minds. For instance, with reptilians, like I have interacted with benevolent reptilians. I know that there are benevolent.
Absolutely.
And I believe too that the original inversion that caused reptilians to become who they have become was due to hurt, and of something there caused that inversion. So I guess I'm asking you, it's kind of a big loaded, maybe not loaded, but a big question. Where do you think these inversions began? Was it to feed off of the soul, or where are these inversions stemming from?
It came from free will. It started from free will. All souls that was created by Source God came with the free will aspect to go out. We started out as light beings. We didn't have a physical body. We had to drop in density, becoming physical, and that took a very long time. With free will, the ego started. The ego started, and these particular beings, like reptilians, did not start out as reptilians. We didn't not have a physical form. So, like I said, as we dropped down in density, it took a very long time to do this, and then the physical form started. That aspect started, and then duality. We didn't get to a duality until we started like really, really going down from fifth all the way down to fourth. Fifth does have a duality, but it's with the unity conscience of mind, which we're trying to get back to. We're in fourth density and trying to raise back up into that unity of fifth density conscious. We still will have duality and choices as we move up in density, but these particular beings stepped away. They had free will, they stepped away, and they started tinkering with technology and creating things to go out and adventure. And of course, they did get some help through what we call angelic beings that did not have a form. And these later became the archons, the demons that guided the reptilians. There was many beings that stepped away from the God source, and then they started manipulating other sentient beings to follow in that negative aspect. And that's where the reptilians really came from, is that duality. God wanted that too, so that we get both sides of light and dark. And once those chains of events started, like I said, the ego mind started. And with the ego mind, the reptilians started tinkering with other sentient beings, put in their genetics, and wanting to, invert everything. They wanted to be like the bosses, the gods of everything. But like you said, there's many positive reptilians, and they have conflict with how these particular Dracos and other reptilians have started going out there and just causing a lot of chaos. They live off that chaos.
So the bringing this, just kind of grounding it into what's happening right now with all of these things that people are seeing in the sky. Do you think that please forgive me, but do you think that they are going to, so from what you're saying, I'm sorry, let me recap on what you just said quickly in regards to these nefarious beings have been manipulating and having a role in Earth's what's been happening on Earth for the hundreds of years.
Yes.
These beings are manipulating humanity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. For the longest time, they have been. Well, let's go all the way back to the Lyran Wars first. That way, your audience can get a concept of how things have been working for a long time with the reptilians. The Lyrans were the first physical form, the angelic form that started the human line. So these particular beings, they were highly evolved, very loving, very nurturing community, a beautiful planet, and they live in harmony with the planet. High vibrational beings. The reptilians came from a whole nother aspect, another whole dimension, and started creating and terraforming and saw these particular beings and wanted to dominate. Now, there's a lot of information out there that just don't add up with when they say the reptilians needed help. Um, the reptilians did not need help. They saw these wonderful, beautiful beings living in harmony, and wanted to kind of infiltrate and control, and that was not going to happen with the Lyrans. And so the Lyras really wanted to know more about these reptilians when they presented themselves to these Lyran species. So the reptilians them wanted to step back and then analyze what they wanted. The reptilians are naturally aggressive and took that as they did not want to help. So they created this long war that the Lyrans eventually had their planet blown up. And to be frankly honest, I really believe that the reptilians didn't care about any of it. I think they saw that light and just wanted to destroy it.
That makes sense. I have a theory. I might edit this out, but just between you and I have been to a lot of places. I've been to many, many, many places, and I believe that I too am a high dimensional being, and I'm waking up to these realities. In regards to what you said, though, I will edit this out because I want this to be about you, but I believe that there was a little bit of a ferocity, and I think that the core of this has to do with organic evolution, and the manipulation and that control comes from wanting to, wanting those genes. And I believe that the lions would have evolved into these bipedal humanoid species on their own. And I think that when Lyra was invaded, there was a sect of them that went to the Hyades constellation. I think that they're coveting an unmanipulated gene pool there. I think that part, that's a part of the story there somewhere. And that some of these, and they went everywhere, as you know, to Syrian, Pleiades, they went everywhere. And I think that not only were they fleeing attack, I think that they were coveting DNA, unfettered DNA, and DNA that has not been manipulated. It's just something I feel like.
They absolutely. Now, many of the Lyrans did get destroyed. They did not make it off the planet, but there was a lot of Lyrans that did make it off the planet, and they was rescued by the Pleiadians, and they're Galactic. The Pleiadians been around for a long time too. So when they went to the Pleiadians and the Lyrans started mixing their genetic line. Creating a more Lyran but human looking species that was combined. So, and like you said, they did go off to many different places and start creating. Even some of the Lyrans also saw later that they wanted to experience this reptilian as well. So there is Lyran reptilian as well that are mixed. So when the Lyrans came here, they created what we call Lemuria. These were the Lemurians. These were the Pleiadian-looking Lyran civilizations, and they started their civilization, the Lemuria. Then you had the reptilians as well. They stole some of the Pleiadian genetics and infiltrated the angelic human line. They could not pass for the angelic line, so they needed human DNA. They needed to look more human so that they can infiltrate And they did the same thing with Lemuria. They infiltrated a lot of the Lemurian people, saw how they was operating, and these particular Nordic-looking reptilians started they were the Atlanteans. They came with more male-dominant energy, and they wanted to dominate. Most of these hybrids are now what we call Dark Fleet. Dark Fleet are the Aryan Nazis that reside in Antarctica. So they do have a base there. They operate there. They go in and out of inner Earth. So they do have what we consider bases down there as well.
I've interviewed a gentleman who worked on a base there and had interaction in this third dimensional, like or fourth dimensional reality, like had interaction with. So I just agreeing with what you're saying and am familiar with the bases down there. My apology for interrupting you right now.
You
Okay. So this is fascinating. Just thank you so much for sharing your perspectives on galactic history, because this is all new. Again, I think that when we communicate communicate to some audiences, we're familiar and we're almost talking amongst ourselves sometimes. But not, because it is growing. So I'm hoping to get this out to people who have never heard this before, so I just appreciate your forthright, your communication. I'm stuttering a little raw, I know. May I ask you personally how, and I don't mean to derail the direction that we're going with the galactic history and what has been happening with Earth from some of these nefarious beings and their role, but how, if you don't mind if I backtrack a little bit, you personally, when did you become aware that you had these insights, that you had this intel, that you were receiving downloads, that you were like traveling, that you were part of what was happening outside of our dimensional reality?
Well, it started long ago when I was a child. And of course, when these beings, let's just go way back before I incarnated. So the setup here on Earth, there is a net, okay? There is a net around the Earth. And when we incarnate, we go through this net, and then these beings that have been controlling things for a long time, they know your light, okay? They're gonna see us come in through the net to the womb. You females are like portals for high dimensional beings to come down and incarnate. And that's how God intended, for us to come through a natural portal through the human body. Well, as we go through the net, we're tagged. Okay, these particular beings are going to see that energy and be like, okay, well, there's someone that's coming in. They're going to find out who the mother is. They're going to find out who the father is, and then they're going to monitor that particular being. They see your energetic energy. Okay, that signature is very unique. They're going to know if it's high or low. We do have dark beings too that incarnate. A lot of the beings that we have these battles with, galactic battles, we get trapped in this incarnational cycle, and a lot of us don't do it the natural way, where we have like missions here. You'll have beings that come down here, come through the net, and then our military, depending on who they encounter, if they can't get information out of these particular beings, and normally it's the positive beings that get trapped. They can't get what they want. They will just go ahead and eliminate that being and use its genetic to make a multi-dimensional type of human experiment hybrids. Um, but I don't want to go that far in yet. Get me back on track. What was I?
So I'm wondering what your personal and I heard everything that you're following, everything that you were just saying, but I'm curious what your, like, in your fourth dimensional reality, when was it that you started waking up to the unseen, if you will, the reality that we cannot see?
So I was guided young. I would see these beings when I was like 6 months old. I already knew. My mom would put me to bed in the crib, and there would be portals. I would look at my wall, and I see these swirling portals coming down, and I would get visited by both beings, both positive and negative.
So you were being contacted as a child. This wasn't something as an adult, all of a sudden you're having the realization of who you are. As an adult, you have been contacted and in contact. I'm sorry, as a child, you have been in contact with interdimensional beings and off-world species, and you've had access to portals as well as a child, which is an indicator likely that your DNA is kind of hardwired. Your physiological, your biological that you're existing in right now is probably like a little coded to have access to those things.
Absolutely. And we can naturally open up portals, but you have to be in a heightened state of conscience. And this is like through your dream state. We open up portals all the time, and then we travel into many different realms. So as the body is at rest, whether you are infant or not, you still have a higher self. And the lower aspect of yourself, which is having to go through this human evolution, this growth of seeing what it's like to be human and evolve from that human line. Well, that's a process of understanding that, it's steps that you have to go through in order to wake up within this particular human line. Of course, now we do have higher selves that know and is connected to the God mind. And that particular higher self, it guides us in different ways to step. It's like a stepping stone that we have to learn different aspects of ourselves in this growth spur that we go through. So when I was an infant, all the way up to the time I was 4 years old, I was seeing these particular beings. Now, both sides had soul agreements with me. I don't know if you know anything about soul agreements or soul contracts.
Would you mind giving us your definition or your perception of that?
Yes. Now,
I have an understanding, but
yeah. Now, certain agreements are done way before your incarnational cycle. Certain agreements that these particular beings may come to you in your highest form, and you may choose to do certain things just for that growth. You can elect to be a part of what we consider the hybrid program, where you're going off with different beings, and they're taking genetic material from you to create. Now, many of us have these, and it doesn't matter which species is doing this. If you agreed for the reptilians to come in and take genetics, then that's what they'll do. Normally, they don't like for you to break certain contracts. But once you become aware within this human state that you do have negative contracts with certain beings, you can break them. They don't like for you to break these contracts, but you have free will to break them. So,
may I repeat what you just said briefly? Yeah. Or I just want to clarify that, because we have been, there are doctrines out there and ideologies that once we have these soul contracts that we're bound by them. I've also heard things like when some of these like darker magic-y things, if something is like put upon you, you cannot, the only person that can remove that is the person that has created it. And or that if you're bound by a soul contract, there is no getting out. It's a soul contract. And I hear you and love what you just mentioned. And if you are in your biological form right now and you are becoming aware of these contracts, of these nefarious like workings of darker things, you absolutely have the control to change and get rid of or remove any binding energy or contractual agreement if you are receiving and becoming aware of it in your biological right now. That may have been too many words, but I just want to assert that humanity, and as we grow and as we increase and we become aware of what is happening, you have far more control than what you are being told. You are a sovereign being, you are a sovereign soul, and you can break these contracts. I just wanted to reiterate that and confirm what you just mentioned. Ra.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you have to use discernment when there's particular groups out there, and I'm talking about humans that have aligned themselves to give disinformation to different people so that they stay not in power. You always have free will, regardless of any state that we are in. You have to understand that we are first souls having a human experience, and that our souls have free will to choose our path, whether it be good or bad. And whether you have good contracts or bad contracts. And this is perfect for what I'm about to go into. Now, we have white hats and then we have black hats. Well, certain white hats can turn dark. They can turn to black hats if they want to learn certain things within this particular earth realm construct. And the same thing with black hats. Black hats can turn into white hats and serve a more light path if they want to experience that particular duality.
That makes sense. And so when you were 4 or 5, you were talking about you had been interacting with those beings, both light and dark, if you will, if we want to use that description. And then what happened or what shifted for you at 6 years old?
Well, I was going through. My father was military. He joined the Marines and then he went into the Navy. Now on his side was more or less the more darker stuff. We're dealing back when what we consider the secret space program was being developed, and no one knew about that. That's when we were dealing with the Hitler days. And then these particular Nazis came over to America, and that's when paperclip and stuff started. That particular bloodline on my father's side started the more negative stuff within the family, and we deal with a lot of bloodlines. And it doesn't matter. My mother's side was more positive, more nurturing and caring. My father, he dealt with the more nefarious thing. We're talking about dark magic that my grandmother was into. very rich family.
Do you think they were part of the programs as described, part of the programs?
Yes, that was my grandfather. That was part of that. He was blonde hair, blue eyed, so he was more or less into that particular type of construct in the Navy, which the Navy at that time was more controlled by nefarious beings. We're talking about these particular beings were Luciferians. We're talking about later they became the deep state. And the deep state started many organizations out here to control and monitor, within the government structure. So, do you want to go down that road, or do you want to hear more about when I was young and started with the meeting with certain beings and
let's go with your latter choice, because I'd like to, if you don't mind, maybe in the future kind of have a little bit of a discussion about secret space programs, because I definitely think that there's a place and an awareness, but that sometimes causes a lot of fear, especially with the realization that perhaps you were like involved, like, and I'm not saying that doesn't need to be it definitely needs to be brought to the light, but for the sake of this conversation, and what we're talking about, because we could be here for a long time with
we will be here for a
all
long
of the
time.
information.
A lot of information, yes. Okay.
There's a lot of information.
Let's stick with the lighter stuff. So when I was young, I would meet with the certain beings out there. Back then, there were positive grays back then. What looked like grays, and there's many types of grays. Not all grays are negative. So I would get floated out of my window this was 8 years old. I could travel as an infant. Once the body is at rest, I could travel and go to, using my etheric body, I could go and travel to many ships and then participate in more psychic type things. So, but this particular time, I was floated out of my window onto a metallic table where there were 3 grays. Now, when you see grays, you're not going to know the sex. You're going to understand energy. You're going to know whether you're dealing with a male or female. So when I was on this metallic table, all of my clothes was off except for my underwear. I'm 8 years old and I got the Spider-Man underwears on, and I'm looking at these beings scared and crying. I can remember my thoughts that I was not going to see my mother again. So I had tears falling from my eyes. And this one gray, like I said, you're not going to know just by visual that the sex of these beings. You're going to know by energy. So she looked at me and told me, she stared me right in my face, looked me in my eyes, and she projected love. And I've never known love projecting, like it was just hitting me that I'm going to be okay. She can telepathically link with me, and she heard that I was scared. She heard me say in my mind that I'm not going to see my mom again. I was worried about not seeing my mom. And she told me that I was going to be okay. And I was. I think what they were doing was giving me an exam, making sure that, I was growing right, making sure that, all of my vitals were okay. Let's just say this. When I came from a council. And these are what you see here now, these many positive federations that are showing up now and trying to wake humanity up. I don't know if you know about the drones that the military put out as a cover story, right? Well,
Yeah.
these particular positive federations, many of us are from these councils. You yourself could be from these councils and are here doing your mission with trying to wake humanity up. So, like I said, in order for us to not break laws of interference, we have to incarnate to get around that, so that we do not interfere on that level. Now that mankind has reached a certain stage of enlightenment, they can now, that time period is past. They look at how mankind has grown from going from third density to fourth density and now are moving ready. So we're trying to wake up the ones that are still mentally stuck in what the government structure has been putting on them as far as the history of mankind, and humans are the only one out there in space. So we're ready for the real truth, and that's what they're trying to provide. These particular drones now that the government is implementing, a lot of the federations are not going to deal with these particular deceptions. They want mankind to wake up, but they want to do it in a more peaceful way. Once these drones are implemented, they will make sure that these drones are not deceiving the public. And this is happening. People are not stupid anymore. They know that what's going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really seems like people are exploring options, and that Project Bluebeam is just one sliver of possibility. And even listening to what you're saying, it sounds like the federations and councils that are kind of coming in right now and making themselves known, it sounds like they're not going to allow for something as stupid as Project Bluebeam to unfold, because it just makes no sense. I think that humanity is far more intelligent. Would you mind explaining like what federations are in these councils and these organizations? Because I'm hearing like there's a federation of this and federation of that. Do you think that there are many? Do you think there's one? What do you think that this looks like regarding the exopolitics of what's going on out there?
Is so much out there right now, and there are many federations. Most of the positive federations that are out there, they've been out there for a long time. And how these federations started was the same way that the alliance have on the planet has started, by coming together, being under pressure and being suppressed, and starting their own positive groups so that they can gain momentum and help humanity out. Same thing happened on their planet by these negative beings. They got suppressed, they had to fight back, and most of them had to flee and join other groups out there that saw that was going on. And they started coming together, creating these galactic councils. And that's pretty much what they are. They're council members from many different planets, of many different species, coming together, and they want to do the same thing with Earth, because we are from them. A lot of us, like I said, we incarnated. We come from Lyrans, we come from Pleiadians, we come from Andromedans, we come from Arcturians. We come from positive grays. We come from positive reptilians. We come from angelic dragon lines. And I've seen a lot of my past lives. where my father was Andromedan, and we had many outposts throughout the galaxy, and was just watching reptilian activities. But to get back to how I became pretty much a white hat is when it started. It started with a lot of the. It was a choice, and at some point throughout my growth of what was going on, like I said, I had the ability as a child to travel to many different timelines, to many different realms. I could travel to the multiverse. I can go as far as going into a whole nother timeline. Well, these I'm gonna have to go just a little bit dark to paint this picture. So I would go through a series of sleep paralysis all throughout my youth, early age, and I would see these particular shadow beings that would come in. Later, I would find out that these particular beings that will hold me down were witches and warlocks. They didn't have access to certain dimensions, and they use particular beings that had light codes like myself to take them where they needed to go. And they will hold me down and get on my back and pretty much ride me like a broom. These particular witches and warlocks, they had ties to the Illuminatis. They had ties to secret lodges, secret dark codes, secret dark orders here on Earth. Well, these beings, though they were powerful, they did not have access to leave and go into certain realms, and that's what they would use. I wasn't the only one. There was many other children that had these codes and can take them where they wanted to go. But I started in my youth. When I turned 9, I started joining a martial arts organization that was called the Warriors for Christ. This particular martial arts organization was already lined up for me. It was in my Akashic records to join this organization when the time was right, learn martial arts to give me the strength. And it was called, like I said, the Warriors for Christ, because I'm a part of the Christ light. I am a Christ being, and that too was set up to align and awaken. Well, this particular time, the reptilians want to slow down my process, my growth. By this time, I was married, newlywed. And this was way after I fought off these particular warlocks and witches. I did fight them, and I said, you know what, I'm not going to take this anymore. And I started fighting back these sleep paralysis that they had me under. I started breaking whatever control they had over me, just breaking it. They no longer had control. So this particular time, the first time I consciously remember meeting a hooded reptilian was when I was a newlywed, and by this time I was well into teaching martial arts at that point. Uh, they wanted to slow me down. If they couldn't control me, they were going to slow my growth process down, because they could look down the timelines and see who's going to cause them problems later in life. This particular reptilian showed up in my bedroom. My wife was in the living room, showed up in my bedroom and tried to put this particular device in my midsection. I don't know if you know about the chakra systems. Well, they wanted to stop that particular chakra from turning. I was just waking up too fast, and they wanted to control that process. This particular device, it was alive. It was a machine, but it also had dark energy within it. It also was alive. So when they placed this in me, I quickly woke up. It was like my higher self joined with me at that point. I had to go through it to see how these particular reptilians work. I was either going to swim or drown at that point. So when they placed this hooded reptilian was pushing this into my midsection, the left side of my face started shape shifting. I can feel all this negative energy on this side, and I felt this energy go through my body, like my higher self saying, "Now it's time for you to fight." So I started using my martial arts energy, and I pushed this device out. And once I got it out of my body, this reptilian, he took off. He disappeared. Now he did use a what we consider like almost like a wand, but this wand is a device where they use this to put you in a sleep paralysis, and that's what he had over me. I couldn't move my I can see him, I can move my head, but I couldn't move my body. So I just had to use my energy to push this device out of me. He wasn't ready for me. I think he underestimated me to handle him at that level.
And this was after, so you were an adult male at this time here, after you were married. Okay.
Yeah. And that began, this was before I even knew about the, about reptilians. But I knew, I was probably about 23. I was about 23 years old when I got married. And it happened around that time. Like I said, we was newlyweds. I didn't know anything about timelines. This was a learning process. Now, when I was young, they did prepare me mentally. They would speak to me, the positive groups would speak to me telepathically and tell me that later in life, I would be doing something profound to help the human race. But when you're a kid, you have no idea what you're going to be going through. And that process of waking up would be long and quite difficult at times. I was always going to have guides, but they needed me to see a lot of the dark stuff and go through it, learn it, and overcome it. And that's when I got into these other military projects, becoming a super soldier. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am. Yes, I am. Can you elaborate and what that looked like for you and what your experience was as you became aware that you were part of those realities and programs?
It started with, like I said, it's very difficult. to go through this and them wiping your minds. You go through these programs and not consciously knowing at the time, because they will wipe your mind and then put you back into your life. But you're having these panic attacks, and these panic attacks it has a source. There's a reason why you're having this. Now, they may wipe your mind, but your body is remember all of this trauma that you're going through, and how these more not so good projects. I won't get into the more darker stuff. I will keep it light, but I will tell you these particular processes of awakening. So they wipe your mind. You go through all these panic attacks, and you really think that you're gonna die. You have no idea of what's going on with you, but you know there's things going on with you. You know that when you lay down, things are coming into your room. You being taken aboard different crafts. You being taken into different bases. Then you're meeting these more darker grays that work for the military, these particular militaries, and they take you to these bases. Well, a lot of this stuff started with the Montauk and the time travel. And like I said, they needed certain humans that could be potential candidates to becoming, that had the genetics to time travel, like myself, and to go into all of these different realms. That was one of the things that they wanted. And like I said, I wasn't the only one. There was other kids that they did many experiments on that did not have the full light codes to do this. So a lot of them did not make it. You know, a lot of them, their minds just couldn't handle it. And they covered up a lot of things within that project. So I'm not going to go into that.
I want to have I do want to like have a nice show and elaborate on the, just there's the dark military secretive programs. There's a huge history there that you're tiptoeing around, and I appreciate you for doing so, because it gets real twisted real quick, and it's almost mind-blowing that something so huge could have been kept secret. Also, too, it helps us to become aware of the level of deception that has been going on. It makes me feel a little bucky, that whole topic. So that's why I say put it on the back burner until later, because there's personal, I have a personal relationship with it, and it still triggers me and makes me a little upset. And I know that it is, that's to be expected for humanity as a whole. And so I really love and respect the information, that how you're talking right now, how you're bringing it to our attention. Also, at some point, I would love to hear how you kind of adjusted and calibrated the information in your dimension now, like in this 4D, like calibrating all of these realities is such a beautiful tool. And I see that you do that gracefully and with strength and with positivity. That's really beautiful to see. But anyway, that's a tangent. I'd love to circle back around to that. Thank you for saving those topics. Like, I'd love to elaborate with you. If you so choose, we can talk again another time. But continue on, Ra. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay, well, let's jump a little forward now and get to becoming a military asset. Certain contracts before I got to that point of becoming a white hat, I had to break certain contracts with Illuminati agreements, and being a military asset. So this is when I became a super soldier. Okay, it started with these particular projects and me having the genetics to become more than what I am now.
And before you go any further, please forgive me. Do you think that you were monitored and tracked at the point of birth? I'm assuming yes, versus being tagged through a school system or through a program. You were monitored from birth.
Yes.
I feel like you're kind of next level. Like you came in hot, if you will, like into this incarnation. Like you came in ready. And probably awakened. You were probably awakened, like, and were knocked down a little bit, I would assume. Anyway, I'm reading into you a little bit. I don't mean to do that, but
you're absolutely correct. When I was in kindergarten, kids would go and play on the blacktop, and I was sitting on the ground meditating, and even teachers will look at me like, "What is he doing?" Yeah, I would meditate because I know that ships would be right above me. There were ships above me watching me, and they still do. They watch me. I can call them in when I need, and the military knows this. Let's get with the alliance stuff. Let's get with the alliance. So I work with the white hat military. I work with I'm a Navy asset, Navy Alliance, and we have different colonies on different planets pertaining to trying to help mankind out. But we need to be on different planets out there to monitor certain threats. Now, we are with these non-human federations. We work as a council. We don't deal with the human element here as far as how things are ran. We are going to allow this natural process for humans to wake up, take responsibility for their own growth, and get out of victim mentality. This looking for a savior to do everything for them. So this is why I speak so firmly about the government structure. If you vote, then don't complain about what happens after you vote for somebody because for the longest time, these reptilians are like the puppet masters and they control both sides. We knew about Bush, we knew about Obama, and both of them had both sides, and they both were bad guys. So what we do now is monitor the timelines, because for the longest time, these bad guys, they wanted their timelines to be played out. They will violate these particular timelines and cause Mandela effects. I've seen timelines shatter to the point where these timelines are just floating out there like broken glass. So my role here, I'm operating on all of these spiritual levels. I have an angelic etheric form that I go into, and there's many of us that monitor different other angelic beings that are not positive. People sometimes get confused that if you're an angelic being that you're positive. Not necessarily. These particular beings, they go into many different forms. They like to take forms that scare you, more or less demonic forms. They'll take crocodile, centipede, scorpion forms. Well, when they take these forms, they are looking for different energies to feed off of. They're mainly here to feed off of humanity energy. And they work in the astral too. Um, so with the Navy Alliance, I'll talk about some of the missions I do for them. Now, I'll do missions for the Navy Alliance, and I'll do missions for the Galactic Federation Councils. Let me just talk about these other missions. And as I said, that we watch timelines. So we are like galactic police officers here. We try not to interfere too much. That way it does not interfere with the natural process of human development or your spiritual development. But when we get called to do certain things, whether it be the Navy Alliance or our galactic positive brothers, and if you need help, we will do our best. Well, this particular mission was to Mars, where these Nazis, they have a base there. NASA is also set up there too, and NASA does not come forth with information. Now, they may get pissed off at me for saying this, but I've already put this information out for humanity anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it regardless. Well, this mission was for the Galactic Council. These particular Nazi children, they have a school just like how our school is set up here, and it is above ground. Don't believe that rover that's on Mars, and they're showing you all of this bull crap. There's a lot more there. There's a whole different setup than what people believe. So the Federation get word that these kids are calling out for help. About the Nazis, and they don't really care. They treat these kids, really bad. And there's other beings that participate in this. They like that type of upbringing you have to go through. Are you aware of many of these upbringings?
I can only guess. I am familiar with keeping children in a bit of like a trauma state in order to invoke certain psychic abilities and or control ability. There's multiple reasons why one would want to keep a child in a state of trauma. And so if that's what you're speaking to, I think that that's a prominent way of, I would assume that the breakaways raise their children in that way.
Okay, I needed to know how much did you know about that. So that's perfect. So we don't matter if it's Nazi children or reptilian children. If you call out to us, then we are going to try to provide some type of assistance for you. And so that's what these Nazi children was doing. They were calling out, telepathically, and we responded. So when I pop in on Mars, I'm in this classroom, and we do this with full knowledge of when to do it. There were no kids there. The person that we wanted, this particular being that we wanted, was there, and he was accompanied by a Nazi teacher, female. This was a female, and it was timed perfectly. So I had a Pleiadian conscience attached to me, and I'm in this military mindset, like most Pleiadians are when we work together. So this being, he was cloaked. Now, this particular technology he was using, we weren't really familiar with. He had cloaking ability, but he was also masking his energetic energy. So I could not telepathically locate this being. Normally, whether you're cloaked or not, I can see you. I can see energy. But this particular technology, it masked his energetic energy. So that was a way for me to locate him. So I'm walking around this classroom. I know he's there. We timed it perfect. See the Nazi teacher, and she's not really giving up his location. Uh, so I walk past her. I just never mind her. And I'm looking around, just trying to do my best telepathically to pick up on something. So my back is turned towards her, and she blow this being a kiss. She blow this being a kiss. Now I can see behind me, and I saw the direction that she blew the kiss. Then I quickly located him. Now I don't know if you know about Pleiadians, but Pleiadians, the one thing I do like about them that they take, it's kind of personal to them, and they use their hands. So I end up choking this being out. Now, my partner is consciously attached to me, this Pleiadian, and we work like a team, like I said. And this being, when I put my hands around his neck and watch him take his last breath, he uncloaked after he died. So this particular being, it had a hunchback, it had a backpack on. That was the technology that he was using. It was pasty green.
It was in the pack. That technology was in the pack.
Yes, and he had a hunchback, and this particular backpack was technology that he was using to mask himself. So he was some type of weird type of hybrid. I've never seen a being like him before, but this was the other being that was causing a lot of trauma for these kids in this classroom. And it's set up, their classroom is set up just like how our kids' classroom here. They have the same type of chalkboard, they have the same type of equipment.
Cold, square.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that they use like glass pads, because they all do use this particular clear pad. I don't know if you know about that technology.
No, I've heard several people refer to this something in hands. I have memory of holding something and looking at something somewhere, but I'm just relating it to an iPad of some sort where it's just a little device with lots of information.
Yeah, and it's just clear. I think it's some type of crystal technology, and it works just like your iPad. It works just like it, but it's clear.
And so so that was one mission that you responded to as a Navy asset working
now this one,
in the Alliance?
This one, not with the Human Alliance. The Human Alliance do work with these Galactic Federation councils, but this particular mission was for the non-human element, the federations. But we do also work with the Navy Alliance as well. Let's see if I can think of a mission for the Navy Alliance. And now I did have.
Are you receiving, like, this is something that comes to your awareness once you are asleep or once you are traveling, or in your waking mind, do you receive information and alerts in your waking conscious self, or is this once you're in and out there that you receive these alerts or signals of distress or somewhere that you need to respond? Did that make
It's
sense?
it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
We do get we have etheric implants, and then we have other implants. We have physical implants. I showed my implant on top of my head when I was at the Super Soldier Talk at James Rink conference. And it is physical. You can see it. This is the one of the Galactic implants. And that particular spot on top of my head, because of the frequency that it gives off, there's a patch of gray hair that grows there. And it's just because of that frequency, it turned that little patch gray. But I also have a military implant, and that's inside the mouth. So they do use my eyes, and they can locate me very quickly. Say, like, if the bad guys wanted to take me, and this has happened before, they're able to locate me both, whether it's physical or non-physical. Like if my etheric body get taken by these particular groups, then they can locate me in any timeline, anywhere, at any time.
That's cool. Were you did you willingly allow these implants to be put into your system? Are they, did you allow for that, do you think? Do you think it's necessary to have those? I'm hearing what you're saying about the location and the etheric being able to locate you in specific field frequencies or timelines. That's very neat. It makes sense. It makes sense that there's technology like that.
It's
do you
very
think we're inescapable? Do you think there's a way to create ourselves? And I know this is a different question, but do you think that there's a way that we can keep ourselves from being seen? Just like there's technology that allows for your people, your federations, your councils to locate you across all time and space. Do you think there's a way in order to disguise or cloak ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you talking about? Are you talking about with the implants?
Yeah, with the implants. Yeah, because I like to think that I'm like, put a shield around my house and nobody can see me. But is that even really possible once we start expanding into the all?
Absolutely. Really need to understand their abilities and their gifts. A lot of times we turn these abilities off because we can't handle what comes with that. You are able to see energy, you're able to see many different beings, but by us being in the physical and not connected to the universal mind, we are meant to forget who we've been in past lives. And those past lives, those beings that you've been, come with a multitude of different abilities, whether it be psychic abilities, whether it be able to move things with your mind, whether it be able to take flight. I've been many different beings in my past life with wings. I've been avian type beings. I've been dragon type beings. I remember this particular past life that I went into, and sometimes we are still there because that multi-dimensional aspect of yourself is still there. Time does not exist. So this dragon I was a red dragon, and my mother, which is passed on here, she was my mother there in that realm. I think this was six a density angelic dragon line, and we lived in a beautiful community. I remember popping into that multidimensional aspect of myself, seeing that I was a red dragon, and there was a guard just right off that cliff we were standing on. So this dragon is highly telepathic. He knew that another aspect of myself, which is me right now, jumped into that body in that timeline where I'm still existing. And by us being so telepathically, and I knew that my mom is gone here, I picked up on my mother energy, and she was a dragon. And I immediately wanted to take flight. Well, this particular dragon, I think I was probably about 11 feet tall. And this other dragon was a guard. And I think he was about 14 feet tall. And he grabbed me by my wings. As soon as I was getting ready to take flight, he grabbed me by the bridge of my back, grabbed where my wing appendages are, where just grabbed right in between that and said, "Hold up." I guess he didn't understand that I fly all the time. And he didn't want me to, injure myself. He knew there was another aspect of me, and it was human.
Wow. So that is beautiful. By the way, I can really see that. How is it that how can people, as they become aware of different aspects of themselves or even reality in general, how would you recommend people maintain and steady the course, just kind of be here, stay balanced, stay contented, and take on these new realities in a way that doesn't upset and cause utter chaos? For instance, the programs that I'm kind of skirting around, as we become aware of all of these things that have been very intentionally hidden from us, it's gonna, it will cause certain people to feel a certain way. I think there's individuals who can handle all the information, all of it, even all at once, such as yourself. I feel like I'm the same way. It's like, bring it. Okay, Roger, got it. We're here. Let's do it. But I feel like, what advice would you give to someone who may not be able to just move through that reality quickly and easily? Maybe not easily, but it's challenging. When you hear about the atrocities that have been happening, whether it's to humanity, whether it's to women, whether it's to children, it's alarming, and it does still trigger me. But what advice do you give to people who are just now receiving this information, and how would you what words of wisdom would you give them, Ra? Because there's some sweet souls who just have no idea.
I would say first we have to stay away from the victim mentality and see ourselves as multidimensional beings who God created to have these earthly experience, whether it be good or bad. We are in a dualistic time until we learn everything that we need to learn. But take that responsibility in your own growth. Don't just take what has been handed to us. And I know that our grandparents, they meant well, but they were lied to as well. And it's been a history of lies. We can't just take what the government structure has given us as facts. When you know deep down on a soul level that something is much more to us. Listen to your children as well when they tell you that they see things, they can do things. don't go into fear base, because we all had those abilities before we started being tampered with. There's many groups here that want to keep humanity in a state of ignorance, but you have to understand too that it's your responsibility on what you take in. Always work on your inner self. I just started learning about shadow work. We all have it. Do you know anything about shadow work?
A little bit. I would love if you gave me, if you elaborated.
I
am familiar with it. Yeah.
I just started seeing these shadow aspects of myself. I didn't learn. I just started hearing about shadow aspects through opening up my channel and people talking about shadow work. I had no concept of this until 2 days ago, of all what it pertains to. And this happened. I'll tell you exactly what happened when I went in this particular reality. So I'm in this place, and it had to be back in the biblical days. And I'm thinking that I probably been here for a long time, incarnated. Well, through those incarnations, we can take on, dramatic themes within that life time, different traumas that did not get to heal. Same thing here, you take on different, whether it be, let me give a prime example. Now, when I went into this reality, I saw three people, and 2 male and 1 female. Did not realize that these were shadow aspects of myself. The 1 female, well, they started running from me. Okay, and I'm chasing these particular people in this what I consider back when Jesus was roaming. This is what the houses look like, and I'm chasing these beings up and down these steps, and you can only imagine what the housing looked like. Doors, open entrance, no doors, stones, houses built out of mud. So when I'm chasing these beings, they're running from me, and I'm getting telepathically that these are shadow aspects of myself. Well, this one shadow aspect was a female, and this had to do with how I need to integrate how I used to treat women in another past life that never got healed. So shadow aspects of is particular traumas and things that needed to be healed, different issues that need to be integrated back into you so that they can be healed. Things that you didn't get to do. It's kind of hard to explain. Like I said, I'm just.
One way that I like to simplify it with words is that it's like a muscle memory within our soul. And it just creates these little memories that will resurface unless we go back. And another way I look at it is like they're little data points on our souls, kind of like, energetic ride. And so those little data points of information, and we need to go back and like look at that, because it causes almost like a little knot in our energy fields on a soul level or in our biological. That's kind of part of, and when it's not healed, when it's not fixed, when it's not addressed, that's when it causes like those shadowy aspects of ourselves, because we're operating from a point of trauma and responding as such, and it kind of seeps into our little bodies here and now,
Mm-hmm.
And we could be acting out things or responding to things like you mentioned, parts or aspects of yourself what that was behaving in a certain way, and it's coming out in our bodies now. Or
Absolutely, and that's these particular shadow aspects kept running from me because they did not want me to integrate them back into me so that they could be healed.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they had me on a chase, and I was, after all three of them, trying to integrate them and heal them by bringing them back into my body.
Wow, that's interesting. I never thought of that, like that they were running from you because they didn't want to be integrated.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the whole journey. That's part of the whole process of ourselves returning to that sensation of feeling whole and one. Oh, I like that. I like what you just said.
Absolutely, because they take on, energetically, they take on a consciousness and are not healed. And I think, most of them will stay there until they are.
Yeah, I agree.
So, want to get into any other missions or?
What time? Let's look at the time right now, real quick.
Yeah, that I have to pick my son up from work in about 20 minutes.
Okay, I have to do something for my son as well. Would you be open to coming back another time at,
Absolutely.
Okay, when it's convenient for you? And maybe I'll do this in a part because you just bring such amazing insight and perspective to things that have been, everything from super soldier to multidimensional to timelines. I mean, this video in and of itself, I think that I almost want to go and make like a little glossary for timelines, ascension, these things, because I'm thinking about all kinds of things now, Ron. So maybe we can do a closing here and revisit the next time that you're available. Maybe we could try live at that time. I just didn't do it because I'm in the process of moving and I didn't want to bring any disruption to what we were doing.
Absolutely.
And then, so I'm going to stop recording now. First, I want to tell you, Ra, thank you so much for, again, just coming and sharing your experience, sharing your story. A big hats off. Thank you so much thank you for just expressing yourself, keeping it real. I see you. I see what you're doing. And I really respect you very much. And thank you. I'm filled with emotion because I feel like I know you from other places. And so it's really cool to see us all here doing it like we said we were going to do. And so when I interact and engage and see someone, it fills me with something that's so beautiful and so powerful and so strengthening. And so I appreciate you because I get that from you. And thank you.
Thank you. And this is what we want. Is to interact with people. We see the love, we see the respect. It's very humbling to me to, just bring legitimate information and just put it out there. Of course, we're going to go under attack. There have been many times that I almost did not make it. We'll get into that information too. It can be deep, but we put our lives on the line for the human collective. So this is what I'm doing it for. This is my last incarnational cycle, and I'm putting it all out there. I'm putting it out there not just for my kids, but for your kids and the whole world.
Well, thank you, sir. I love, honor, and respect you and everything that you are doing, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Rob.
Love you so much.
Thank you.